Hello, and welcome to the Metacast podcast. It's the podcast about itself, ourselves, and the self in general. As always, my name is Ty, and I am your host, and I'm always with my co-host, Distance. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man.
Hey. So, again, we've got a almost last-minute episode like last week. Oh, man, speaking of, I am like completely kicking myself over not bringing up something from last week's episode that I like. Okay, so I'd been like really binge watching this series on Netflix about the Unabomber and about
Uh,
how I want to read
okay.
the manifesto so much, and it was like so much of his points are almost exactly what we were talking about modern technology like being a hindrance to humanity almost. That it was like I it's weird that I like it didn't occur to me to actually bring that up and like what but that was like last week's episode, but it was just something I don't know, I've been kicking myself all week over, but
And if you haven't listened to it, listen to the other one.
yeah, exactly. Plug for
Shameless
last.
plug.
Yeah. But yeah, like I remember. I mean, we're both the same age, so I know we were both young when that was going on. But I didn't
Mhm.
remember like barely anything about like his beliefs or anything like that. And that his like whole point was trying to bring up that like he thought that basically like excuse me the fallout from the industrial revolution has just been a damage to society and humanity as a whole. But and I like it's like I mean as weird as it is, I kind of I agree with it and like with what we were talking about last week. Like it seems like
Yeah.
it's seems like he had some good ideas. He didn't go about them in a good way, of course, but
It
yeah.
really sucks how you can force everyone to think that you're a crazy person instead of taking anything you have to say seriously by doing one thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and obviously, you can separate the ideas from the human, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's, like that's a good thing that we're able to do that. Just because if you think someone is generally objectively bad, it doesn't mean that all their ideas are complete crap. Or
Exactly.
just because someone comes up with nothing but bad ideas except for one, that you can't acknowledge that the one good idea is a good one.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, well, so more onto this week's topic. I guess we're looking at motivation versus inspiration. The differences between the two, of course, the similarities that they may share, and really want to delve into I guess how to find motivation and inspiration, how to keep them once you have them, like when to realize you're losing them. I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Agreed.
So, I mean, I guess, first things first, we should talk about just the definitions of each to get a baseline going, right?
Yeah,
So,
always.
motivation, the easiest definition I found is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, which I think, most people use a secondary bullet point here is the general desire or willingness of someone to do something, which I think that's kind of more closely associated to how people generally talk about motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah, like synonyms being enthusiasm, drive, or ambition. I think those are
Yeah.
a lot of times what people go for. And then inspiration, the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, which like I guess
The especially
innovation.
creative part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like innovation and ingenuity, I think, are the top synonyms that I see here. Yeah.
Mhm.
So to you, what are the standout differences between the two? Like when someone, I feel like a lot of people misuse one or the other when they're meaning the other word.
Yeah. I think that so for a long time I thought of the idea of motivation because you can look at it from different ways, and a lot of people have this idea that motivation is this idea of like getting fired up and oh, I'm motivated,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality there's better words for that feeling, which is more like enthusiastic, jacked, amped,
Mm-hmm.
um maybe even driven to some degree, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time I thought of motivation myself as just like that idea of being all enthusiastic and ready to go. um then inspiration it's a bit different because you can have all the inspiration in the world and not be motivated by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you sort of get this idea that you're going to do something, or like an inspiration, especially when it says, especially for like a creative endeavor. A lot of the time we think about artists as being inspired to write or to paint or whatever, or you look at a specific field with this on a specific day at a specific time with a specific number of animals in it, and that inspires you to make a painting based on that experience. Or someone breaks your heart, or somebody dies and you feel inspired to write something, music or poetry or even a book. Actually, Chuck Palahniuk, I forget the name of the book, but he has a long series of books that he's continued to write that he uses as a way to cope with the death of his parents.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
So he thought that okay, well, hell, I can just keep writing these. Like, I'll write a whole series. That'll give me plenty of time to get there to help. And there's I think that. But for me, motivation now is the idea of, why are you doing what you're doing? Someone needs to be told, what they need to either be told or they need to realize on their own, what are the reasons for this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I waking up at this time? Why am I doing this kind of work? Why am I completing this task? Why am I doing this difficult thing every day? It's not, oh yeah, man, I'm so motivated. And then that's like, what?
Yeah. That doesn't actually mean anything like at just surface level. Yeah.
Everything that humans do for the most part is pretty similar. So if you look at a romantic relationship, people tend to be really into it from the beginning. And then later on, it's not quite so exciting. And now it's become a more routine, sort of maybe even mundane thing. And I think people do that with the stuff that they do. Like, you first start doing something, be it a job or a hobby, and at the very beginning, you're crazy into it. And after a while, that kind of, the sort of passion, I'll call it, starts to kind of fade. And it's like, well, when that happens, what do you have now?
Yeah.
It's
after once that honeymoon phase is over, right?
Yeah. And there's some people among us that end up, finding something that really, that they can be passionate like that about for their entire life, and they never have a down time or a difficult time with it. And even if they have a difficult time, they enjoy it so much. There's something that like gives them such a lovely emotional or biochemical response that they just do it. So, I think one is a reason that's concrete. That would be motivation to continue to do something or complete a task. And the other is a bit more metaphysical. It's more of like a emotional feeling. And some people think that motivation is an emotional feeling, but it's certainly not, at least not by my definition. What about you? Do you agree? I mean, do you have a slightly different idea?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with a lot of what you said. And I'm wondering if my take on the two is actually just kind of wrong after reading the definitions. But it was like, it's to me, I almost thought that that basically like inspiration was more internal and motivation was more external. That you're gonna get your motivation from as a drive from within, and you're gonna get inspiration from something that is external. And I almost thought it was like wrong use of words when you would see something that's like called like a motivational video or things like that. It was like, to me, it was like, oh no, is that more of an inspirational video? But after reading the definitions, I think that I am kind of wrong there. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that when you look at the videos that we're talking about in particular, like motivational videos or ones that are typically titled as that, I think that I kind of agree in some regard to the internal versus external thing. An external source can motivate you for sure. Like if you have, do you know who Jocko Willink is?
Yeah.
So he has a whole little spiel he did on motivation.
For people that don't, though, you may want to like sum him up for listeners, but
yeah. Jocko, he's he and one of the guys that he served with, he was actually under his command in Ramadi, Iraq. He and Leif Babin wrote a book called Extreme Ownership, and he's written a few others. He actually wrote a kids book, which is really cool too.
I did not know that.
I think it's really awesome. I actually bought it for my nephew for Christmas last year. Yeah, those kids get books from me. That's right. Uncle Distance gives you books. Yeah, no Legos from here. But Extreme Ownership is really great. It's actually a really cool book where he takes his experience commanding Navy SEALs in Ramadi, Iraq, and his experience training SEALs and actually helping out with making some changes to the training programs. And he applies that to business. And you can apply it to your life too. It's this whole concept of owning everything, like never blaming anybody, always doing everything that you know that you can do and never throwing anybody under the bus. It's actually really empowering because if you adopt that for just a couple days a week, you realize how much impact you can actually have on the things around you if you don't push the responsibility off on someone else. And it also means when you screw up, you own it too.
Yeah.
You just tell people I messed up. And he has a really not so lovely story at the very beginning of the book about some bad things that happened that helped them to learn some lessons. And he actually has a TED talk. So it's a Jocko, Jocko Willink, Willink, Jocko Willink. So look him up, look up his book. It's brilliant. I love it. But he has also a podcast where he has a companion on there named Echo. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like us. We've got like the real name and the pseudonym.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool.
Jocko and Echo. So
you all right?
Sorry, I got a weird notification on your Twitch channel.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail things.
Oh, no worries.
But he has this kind of idea where he talks about motivation. And there's actually an interesting part in the book where at the end he realizes he didn't do a good job explaining, because he heard Leif, one of the guys that actually co-wrote the book, talking to him about not quite understanding some of the things and some of the impact they had. And then Jocko kind of realized, like, oh crap, I never made it clear to these guys.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I never made it clear to them what was happening, what they were doing, and why. And I think he realized that if he'd done a better job of that, he could have motivated them better. It's like, saying stuff like, a friend of mine at work, she wants to get in shape. She's been, going to the gym and stuff like that. And every now and then she'll be like, I don't feel like working out today. And, I could come in there and what some people might call motivation and be like, oh, you can do this. You are so strong. You got this. You just go in there and slay. You're amazing. But instead I'm like, what are you going to the gym for? She's like, because I want to be in better shape. Like, well, why do you want to be in better shape? Like, because I want to feel better, like when I wake up in the morning, and feel good about myself when I look in the mirror. I'm like, okay, so go get it.
Yeah. Like
there's your reasons why. So go. That you got every reason in the world to go.
Yeah.
So do it. Then to me, that's real motivation, and that is external.
Well, but it's also, there's the internal part where all of the reasons are what she wants. Like, you're not actually giving any external motivation. You are just reminding her of her internal reasoning, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, her personal reasons why. But if it's like a team or work situation, and if you're leading that team, explaining to them, well, we're going to do this because it's going to create this opportunity for our company for us to move into this market, and the task that you're doing is going to complete this portion of this larger project, which is going to allow us to move into this market and make, and if you have an estimate, you can monetize. I mean, we'll make an extra 5.2 million a year off of this alone, and we can grow the business in that market if we want to. Of course, obviously that's a projection, like that, some money magician or accountant, whatever they call them. It's magic. I don't care what anybody says. It's magic. Things that accountants do is magic. But so in that way, that is an external, because it's something that your team might not realize, but you can tell them right there.
Yeah.
But then it's like, totally different if they're being like, you guys are amazing and you can do this and you're great and you're phenomenal, but not even telling them why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do you expect them to complete the task if they don't understand
Yeah.
the eventual goal, the real part of what'll happen? And yeah, I mean, but I'm not saying that all motivation is external. I'm saying it can be both.
Yeah.
I think if you yourself are aware of the reasons why you're doing something and you can remind yourself and constantly be aware of that, then that's completely internal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's the
And
most important too. I mean, if you're
yeah,
getting that external kind of like, uh, just like, I don't know, it's almost bullshit motivation. Like you were talking about, just like the generic, you can do this, you could like, yeah, everyone can say that, everyone can listen to it, but does it, like, I don't know, like to me that's almost just really like a false sense of motivation.
yep, it's total crap. It doesn't. It goes away, and it's like you just have to get a little more of that every day, and even then, like that's not enough. You can have Tony Robbins yell at you till he's blue in the face, and it's not necessarily gonna make you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I do agree with you saying that inspiration is external, because I don't think that there's I don't like I don't like get done doing something difficult and like leave the gym and think, man, I inspire myself.
Yeah.
It's like that just doesn't happen. It's not. I think inspiration really is dependent upon an outside source. Because even if you look at the definition we looked at, it says being mentally stimulated,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't really mentally stimulate yourself. I mean,
I
you can
can.
do a crossword puzzle, but it's a different kind of stimulation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, just even the sentence, like, I inspire myself, just sounds so narcissistic and wrong. Like, there's something
Yeah,
weird about that. Like, oh, yeah, I'm
yeah,
my own inspiration. Like,
yeah. It's you would definitely think I am probably never going to talk to this person again
yeah.
if somebody like legitimately said that to you.
Yeah. If I ever
Yeah, I
asked someone
mean,
who their greatest inspiration was and their answer was themselves, I think that's the end of that conversation.
yeah, but that's it. That's a really good way to end a job interview badly too.
Mm-hmm.
They ask you that question, definitely say yourself if you don't want the job. But there is what I think is somewhat of a darker side to inspiration.
Hmm.
Um, that there was actually a lady named I saw this years ago. There's a lady named Stella Young, and she has like a congenital bone and connective tissue disorder. I think I can't remember what it's called. Um, but her TED talk was about what she called inspiration porn.
Hmm.
And it was about objectifying humans for inspiration.
Okay. Yeah. I've never heard that term used before, but that makes a lot of sense.
It was pretty brilliant because I mean, there is a dude I want to say it was the Boston Marathon. Some dude someone sent it to me because the guy had a form of muscular dystrophy, or at
Okay.
least that's what the caption said. They probably
Okay.
got the disease wrong. But this dude was just like, I am going to complete the Boston Marathon if I have to freaking drag myself across the finish line. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like super dark. It's nighttime. I'm pretty sure it's the Boston Marathon. It wasn't the Boston Marathon. It was a marathon.
Okay.
Wait, no, it could have been the Boston one because you have to qualify for that, don't you?
I honestly have no idea.
Well, marathons are, what is it, like? I think it's 26.2 miles. That's
Yes.
a long way to run.
Oh yeah.
And this guy, like, it's video footage from someone's camera phone of this guy, like, sort of hobbling, having to drag one leg and limp across the finish line.
Hmm.
And the dude was just doing this because he wanted to do it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And now someone's taking some video footage. Look how inspiring this guy is. And to me, I think to myself, like, hey, man, that guy's fucked. Like, I feel way better about how not fucked I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, really? Like, that's what that person is here for you to look at and think, oh, how inspiring. Like, look at all he does. And look at what's, it's like idealizing somebody,
Yeah.
And I don't find it to be completely fair. I think that if someone's volunteering for that, then that's fine. Like me, I, you know, talk all the time about how like, I ride bicycles and it's difficult and I have muscular dystrophy. Obviously, that's why someone sent me that, because it said muscular dystrophy. And they're like, hey, look at this. I'm so inspired. That, you know, I do these things and I ride bikes and I do all this difficult stuff. And what have you done today? And go do something and blah, 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 blah. But I'm volunteering.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to be that object.
Yeah.
If people want that. But it's completely different when you are doing something for you, for yourself, and other people are like butting in, taking video footage of you, putting it on the internet, and getting all teary-eyed, talking about how inspired they are, and how long is that inspiration even going to last? And inspired to do what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that is kind of like, I don't know. I can see both sides of it though, because like it is. I definitely understand where they're coming from. That is kind of fucked up, where you're making a spectacle out of something that wasn't necessarily at all. He was just, you know, like you're saying, he's doing that for himself. You know, that like no one else there is like recording or being recorded. Like he was the one person that there was attention on, right? And he wasn't asking for that attention. It's the same where like I've had friends do the same thing where, you know, you're at the gym and you see someone that's really, really overweight there, and you're like, oh, you know, I'm inspired that they're doing this. It's like, well, you know, they're just here to work out like everyone else. It doesn't have to be like a, you know, something that you're making a big deal out of. But at the same time, like you can't really choose what things inspire you and what don't, you know. And if you see something like that does give you a little bit of like you know, a feeling that is like, oh well shit, like, you know, if this person can do it, I should do it too. Like, I don't know if it's wrong to see it that way, you know, but at the same time, like, you don't, well, it's wrong to videotape them and make that into like a meme basically, or like
I mean, looking at somebody and feeling that way is, I mean, inspiration, I think we're talking about, is a chiefly emotional thing, and it's just a biochemical response happening in your brain. There's neurons firing, and it has a specific effect on you. Don't forget about those axons and dendrites. I should pull up some brain anatomy to figure out how stupid I just sounded. But and that's fine, but it's something completely different altogether. Like, in my case, if I was at the gym, and number one, I'd be annoyed already so, you know, I don't bend down so well, and it's hard for me to pick weights up. Like, you've seen me, like, I gotta like pick this weight up, put it on the bench, pick this other weight up, put it on the bench, grab the one weight off the bench, put it on the rack, grab the other weight, put it back on the rack, like grab the weight off the bottom rack, put it on the top rack, the other one on the top, pick them up, put them on the back. You've seen it.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what it looks like.
And the worst part is you put your weights away more than anyone else at the fucking gym. And you have like every excuse not to. Like, yeah. So irritating.
It's just common decency. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there's even been times where like I've gone to pick up a weight and you'd be like, here you go, buddy. I'm like, oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks. Really. It's but it's different because we're friends. Like, if some random person was like, here, let me help you, I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But so if somebody sees me like getting up off the ground kind of weird, like even when I bend down to like use the like adjustable pulleys, like where you can lift them up and put them up, I have to kind of bend down funny, kind of sit on the ground, get it to a certain point to where I can reach it leaning over and then raise it all the way up.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like, you know, my legs are like, it's just difficult for me to do all that. Like, it's hard enough to get myself off the ground. If someone were to walk over to me and be like, hey man, are you okay? Like, well, number one, I'd already be annoyed.
Yeah.
By that. Even if it was out of concern, like, bro, do your workout. You know, like, lift weights. That's what you're here for. You're not here to be concerned about me. Now, if I drop some weights on my chest, for the love of God, come over and ask me if I'm okay.
Exactly. Unless I'm like literally laying on the ground or pinned under a barbell, I'm pretty sure I'm okay. Like,
yeah, like there's a few reasons that you should come over and help. Or like, if you hear a very loud noise and you hear someone grunting, maybe walk over and be like, dude, you good? That's fine. But then if I say, nah, man, I'm good. Like, are you sure, man? Now they're pushing the issue. I'm even more pissed off. Like, I have a genetic muscle disease. I'm half crippled. And they're like, oh, you inspire me, man. Now that's lame.
Yeah.
And even if you say all that stuff and I say that to you, and you feel the way you feel, that's fine. Just keep it to yourself. Or
Yeah,
like if you
exactly.
walk over, and because actually a friend of mine was telling me about a situation when she was at the gym. She was like, "Let me get your opinion on this." And it was like some dude that it looked like he may have recently had a stroke or something,
Okay.
because he was having some difficulties with one side of his body, but he was still like lifting and stuff. And someone just out of nowhere like asked him if they could like help the guy, and I'm just like, really? Like, if he needs your help, he'll ask.
Yeah.
I mean, and if he doesn't, if he really does need your help and he doesn't ask for it, that's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, there's plenty of times where people have been like, "You need me to help?" And I'm like, "No," and I like struggle through something, damn near break my back. And it's like, if I want to be an idiot, just let me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'll pay for it in the end. Like, if I want to hurt myself, then you just let me be a prideful ass.
Hmm.
It's no reason to worry about it. But the guy was fine. Like, she said that he wasn't really getting around badly at all.
Hmm.
And then, like, at some point, like, the old man told the dude, "Oh, you're so inspirational." Like, keep it to yourself, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
just feel the way that you want to, but realize that, like, while that person might have caused some feeling in you in some way, that's not their sole purpose for existing.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and have the empathy to realize like you're speaking to them, making it a bigger deal than it is to them is going to cause some sort of emotional reaction to them. Like, it's
Yep.
not like your place to like, I don't know, to tell them what they made you feel without considering how you are going to make them feel. I think that a lot of people
Exactly.
don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it's different, like, for like a close friend or a family member. I'm fine if they want to communicate that sort of thing to me, because I already know that I'm more than that to that person.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if you
Yeah.
said something like that to me, it wouldn't bother me, because like I know that you're a friend and you consider me as someone here to like hang out with and have fun with and
Hmm.
goof off with, and like, we help each other out with stuff, and like, I already know that I'm more than just some inspiration thing to you. So it's fine if you said something like that, or like my dad has said things like that before. That's cool.
Hmm.
I mean, we're obviously more than that. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a good bit of genetic material because of that dude. So um so it's different, than just saying that to a stranger.
Hmm.
But I don't really think of it, and maybe I might get some flack for making this comparison, but you know, that guy that's crossing the finish line, barely able to get across at the very end of a marathon, this dude more or less didn't even walk. He like in a struggling fashion hobbled 26 miles. Like, and then you're deciding you're just gonna, without his consent, and I don't know, maybe he said it was cool, just put your phone up and start taping him. Like, really?
Hmm.
That's not all that much different than sneaking a picture of like a woman you think is attractive.
Hmm.
I don't think that that's much different,
Yeah.
because that's sort of making some implication that they are just there for you to gawk at and get excited about their body parts.
Yeah. And it's like,
Um,
I mean, in all fairness, it's like you can't expect if you're in public, you cannot expect privacy. Basically, it is fine. Like if you're doing a marathon, it's basically fine. You're expecting that pictures may be taken of you or video may be taken of you. That is reasonable, but at the same time, it doesn't, like you're saying, you're being used as an object by that
yeah.
person.
And to some degree, he may have been volunteering himself for this,
Mm-hmm.
like the same way that I do, like putting all this stuff on YouTube and talking about it. But he volunteered himself to be in a public space, but not necessarily to have footage taken of him and put all
Mm-hmm.
over the internet. And, I mean, maybe he saw it and was super stoked.
Possibly, yeah.
Um, or maybe he was like, well, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and
Like,
there's
there's
also the
stuff.
the other side of it too, where it's like the person taking the video and then posting it, they may have had quote unquote, like good intentions of being inspired by it, or maybe they were just wanting to get invisible internet points. How many likes could they get on this? How many, things like
Yeah,
that, where it's like that. There's that
yeah,
whole bullshit side to it too. But
that's entirely possible. Um, so yeah, would would you say that one of those things is in some way more valuable than the other? motivation versus inspiration?
Mm. Um, yes, I would think the way that I understand the two, that motivation is more valuable. I would say that well, I mean, not only just because like the inspiration seems to be fleeting, you know, and like we've talked about, it seems to be almost completely external. But it's like in my mind, if you are motivated enough, you don't necessarily need inspiration. It can be nice to have, but it's like if you really want to get something done and you truly have motivation for it,
Mhm.
no matter how much you don't feel like doing it, you're going to do it. You don't need a spark of inspiration to get you off the couch to go do it.
True. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people that I'm sure don't feel like doing whatever they need to do, that just do it anyway, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think I agree with you too, that, you know, if we're in agreement that chiefly motivation kind of comes from within,
Hmm.
someone can maybe tell you the reasons why, but that may not actually cause you to do anything necessarily, unless you really get the reasons and you understand them. And it depends on the situation too, right? So if it's like
Yeah.
an athletic event or a competitive event of some kind, then it's going to have to be internal, because there isn't going to be somebody there all the time. Like even if someone tells you some reasons why you're doing what you're doing, you need to be aware of it all the time after that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I agree with you that it's probably more valuable. Inspiration's more of like an external locus of control kind of thing, like where what's happening is reliant on something outside, and
Hmm.
you can never rely on that. I mean,
It,
that's the
it,
reason like a lot of relationships don't work out, is because, you know, one person in the relationship is, you know, putting all of their emotional well-being in another human, which is a terrible idea.
yeah. Yeah.
um, and it's the same thing with you know, needing to be inspired all the time to do something.
Well,
But
it also, it seems like to me too, like the external motivation that we're talking about, whether it be like a motivational speaker, watching a motivational video, things like that, it only really works when it strikes a chord and resonates with something you have within already. You know,
right,
it's just you're using it
yeah,
to kind of
hmm,
find something you've got already in there. But
yeah, that is true. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, I think that there probably is something that's already there. Like, you know, I've had plenty of coworkers in the past, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I've had plenty of coworkers in the past talk about how they want to get in shape or whatever, and I'll try to kind of be helpful and be like,
mhm.
oh well, you know, and if you need anything, you know, this whatever, blah blah blah. Um, so do you know what you're going to do every day to make that happen, or whatever conversation I'm going to have? But
Mhm.
I've had so many conversations with people about things of that nature that I can tell in that conversation if they're going to achieve the goal or not.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's usually glaringly obvious,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
just like, yeah, they're not going to get there. it's it's I mean, sad but true, I guess.
Well, it's like you've said
So
to me a lot with just in many different things where it's like what like if you really want something, you're gonna do what you have to do to get that thing. It's not just like
yeah.
looking and saying like, oh yeah, I'd like to be in better shape, and never actually making any change to get there. Like yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a personal example right now. I realized last night, you know how I mentioned to you, I was possibly going to do, where I was actually planning on doing a cycling event on November 9th.
yeah, yeah,
So I kind of thought about it and I realized I don't really want it.
hmm.
I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I don't. And I actually don't know that it's going to be much of a benefit, because the whole idea is, you know, to go through something difficult and to, you know, make myself a stronger human by going through something that's not so easy and suffering a little bit. But I
Mm-hmm.
realized that with what's happened at my place of work recently, I've just slain a dragon. like like our whole IT organization just slayed a dragon. Is it
Yeah.
slayed or slain?
I would say slain. Yeah,
You know,
I think it's
we
slain. Yeah,
we killed it. We
yeah,
killed us a dragon.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a Old English. Look it up. It's a Norman English sort of. Yeah. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, I have enough of that right now, and I need to get back into riding a bicycle because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And there's actually a really cool video from a road cycling YouTuber. think it's Vegan Cyclist.
Okay.
He has a really cool video called Breathe, where he goes through the whole, and I'm saying this because it kind of applies to a lot of things, where he goes through this whole idea of, he tells the narrative of, you start to ride a bike and you kind of like it, and you get some clip shoes, or they call them clipless shoes. Even it's a silly name, but I won't explain why they're called clipless. But
Okay.
you buy some shoes and some pedals you can clip into, and you buy a cooler helmet, and you buy some nice wheels that cost $2,800, which is more than your bike, but who cares? And you start eating better, and you get rid of this, you get rid of that. And then there's a part where there's some beer on a table. He's like, okay, let's not get too carried away. And he puts the beer back. And then he's like, oh, and your friends say you're fast, you should start racing. You go race. You get owned. So you train and you ride harder, and you get faster, and you get stronger, and you get faster and stronger, and then you race again and you win. And then he talks about getting burned out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get out of shape.
Yep.
And then he tells a story where he's like, and then you and your friend go ride together near a lake. There's sun outside. It looks nice. You're having fun. You're spending time with your friend. You remember why you started. And then it's like, then it starts all over again. He goes, now you want to go faster. And then the whole thing starts again.
Yeah.
So it's like the same with anything. I think anything that anybody's super into, like even if you do powerlifting meets, or you play competitive volleyball, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to just chill out and do that stuff because it's fun.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. And then you can go back to having a goal about it. But it's just one of those things where it's okay if you realize you don't really want something. Like, if you're not willing to sacrifice everything that's necessary, then you clearly don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a situation where I'm like, I did 100 miles in April. I want to do 200 next summer.
Okay.
So it's like, wait for that goal that you really want.
Okay. Yeah.
The 200 is the thing that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do what you have to. And then I have to ride the same distance as my old goal to train for the new one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing with a 10K. You have to run a 5K training for a 10K.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you have to run a 10K training for a marathon.
Yeah.
Or a half marathon. And you have to run a half marathon training for a marathon. So it's crazy because then the challenge becomes the training. It's ridiculous, but it's cool. But that's the thing. I realized, like, I don't want to ride 51 miles through like hilly country in November. It's not something it's not a milestone for me. It's not something that I think is going to really give me any kind of sense of achievement. So I was just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I just think people need to realize what they want and they don't want.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you brought up, like if it's something that you enjoy, you don't want to take the enjoyment out of it by forcing yourself to do something that you don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah. And, it's the thing is that I think people realize a marathon sucks. It is awful. Even if you're ready for it, it hurts. But the thing is that I think that the thing that you end up wanting is knowing that it was done, or you actually want to have the suffering.
Yeah.
Because there's value in that.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily going to have fun. It's like, like the guy that's climbing Everest. He's like, hey man, you having a good time? He's gonna be like, no, this sucks. I think my hand's going to fall off.
Yep.
Oh crap, my hand just fell off. This really sucks. Then the guy gets to the top of Everest, or he gets up and then back to the base camp. And you're like, hey man, now that it's over, how do you feel? Bro, I feel great. Of course, the problem with that is that high doesn't last.
Yeah. You're always chasing that next peak, right? Like in that case, literal peak, but yeah.
Yeah. Hey, nice pun. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's making me think about the century I did. Like that 100-mile ride was something that was a huge deal to me, and I remember how great it felt when I finally got done. And I remember on the drive home still feeling pretty cool about it the next day. And then the day after that, I was like, what now?
Yeah.
You know, it was like there was something. It's almost like when you get done, you feel inspired.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Because there were a lot of other people there that did the thing with you, you know, and they were going through the same thing. But it's hard for me not to feel kind of emotional about that thing. It was cool, you know, it was exciting, something that,
Oh
that I
yeah.
thought was difficult to do, but it was fun.
And
But I think
how
that
long was that a goal that you had for yourself? Like when did you first set the goal to ride 100 versus when you completed
last
it?
last summer,
Okay. So it
yeah,
was
I
almost a year then of looking at that in your in your headlights there. Okay.
yeah, and the first time I ended up like overtraining and like not only I only made it like 60 miles or 58 or 58.3 or some shit.
Okay.
I'm not going to give myself credit for 60. It wasn't 60 even. I won't round. I'll round down. It was 50. It was 45. 10 miles. I only made it 10.
Gotcha.
Rounding way down. Yeah, I mean it was I learned a lot because overtraining happens a lot to a lot of people, and it's a really common rookie mistake because you think that it's the same thing with weightlifting, right? I mean, your body has to adapt, and you're allowing your body the time to adapt. So you need to recover. And I was riding way too much, too many days a week. Stressed myself out, caused myself a lot of issues. I mean, there were days like where it was difficult to get around at work, and I would go out when my legs were still kind of killing me, thinking, "Oh, you got to train hard." So, I mean, I already screwed it up the first time. Everything about it was a total screw up. The way I was eating, the schedule I was eating, what I was eating on the rides, it was just a Herculean fuck up, all of it. So I took what I learned and I used that to train for the next one. And I tried to kind of take it easy, like just kind of chill out. And it worked out really well. Yeah.
So how during that whole process then of almost a year looking at one goal, how did you stay motivated towards that goal? Like you knew that it was something you wanted to do, but of course, like you just pointed, there were major roadblocks along the way. You weren't training right, you overtrained, you weren't eating right, like you went to go actually attempt the goal and missed the mark by quite a bit. Like how during those setbacks were you able to keep your motivation?
Well, I think the thing I realized was that I needed to understand my own limits. And I had to think to myself, there's no shame in finding a place where you can achieve this. And you cannot do that in the foothills of North Carolina. It's just too up and down. Anyone that tells you this area is flat is completely full of shit. And in the surrounding areas too, like there's some serious hills. And to an able-bodied person, they'd be pretty difficult. But for me, it's just like damn near impossible. And there's a couple that I had to like. There's some where there's like a hill and the grade increases halfway up, and so your legs are killing you, and now you have to pedal even harder. And going uphill sucks because if you take the pressure off the pedals, you fall over.
Yeah.
It's like that for anybody. I mean, climbing is just a shitty feeling. So the one thing was it was just accepting the limitations that perhaps I can't do this on the most challenging terrain or even moderately challenging terrain. Sorry, switching earpieces here. So I think that it ended up being very disappointing for me, like not actually making it the first time, but instead of I kind of did beat myself up. I mean, I thought, this is sad. This is fucking pathetic. Like you were going to do this. And for me, I mean, fuck it. I may as well just open up. I'm not going to pretend to be Mr. Tough Guy here. So I went from being somebody who fought competitively to being someone that didn't. I went from being this kid that idolized athletes and bodybuilders. I thought Flex Wheeler and Frank Zane were the coolest people ever. And I was like, I want to be like these dudes and started lifting weights at 15, and then you find out something's wrong, and now all the stuff you want to be is gone. You can't fight. You can't be. Sorry, I hate to use the term because it's a cliche. You can't fight. You can't be a warrior. You can't do what you wanted to do. Like, yeah, I even thought about joining the military at one point, and that was actually right before I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. I was like, okay, I guess that's not happening. I mean, everybody wants to join the army and become a ranger, so or a Green Beret or whatever. It's just, that's the dream of every young person that joins the military, is you want to be special forces. Whether or not I could have made that with a completely healthy skeletal muscles, who knows? But I got to this point where I felt weak, and I needed to prove that I might not be strong, but I am tough.
Yeah.
And I've needed to prove that to me, but I wanted the people around me to see that and realize that they had no excuses for anything they weren't doing, because I didn't take mine. I refused.
Yeah.
And it hurt a lot to not be able to finish and to think that my ceiling was like close to half as far as I wanted to go. And like, I just couldn't accept that. So it's this whole idea I mentioned when we were talking about the self-improvement thing, that I seem to do better when I feel like I have an enemy to rage against.
Okay. So
I just thought to myself, like, I don't know who the hell I was talking to, but I was like, you're not going to beat me. I mean, whoever you are, the universe, molecular biology, I don't know, you're not going to beat me. And it was just like, I can't let the state of existence beat me down. Like, I need to make this happen, and I need to tell people I'm doing it. I need to sign up and commit to it, and I need to get a schedule together and train. I mean, I got sick during that. I ended up with like a weird, like, they call it cyclist palsy, where you end up with like nerve issues in your hands from your hands being on the bars for so long.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that sucked. And there was even the time that I got it done, like I actually completed the goal, there were still plenty of setbacks. But I knew how to train. I knew how to eat this time. So I had that. And I knew when to rest and when not to rest, and when to allow myself to recover and when not to. I learned to listen to my body, so to speak, and to understand what indications were that you need to rest, and what the indications were of you're okay, you can go train. And I would push my training back a day if I needed to. I'd push it forward a day if I needed to. Depending upon what was going on. And I made a point to like eat a very specific way, depending upon what I was doing, what type of training I was doing that day. And I think that I had this is cheesy, but I would look in the mirror and I would say, what the fuck are you made of? Like every single day. And it's like, I want to find out, like, what am I made of? Like what constitutes you, what makes you up, and how tough are you, how hard are you, are you really who you think you are? And then there were times where I'd be training and I was on like my 30-mile ride or my 40-mile ride, and it's funny, I climbed twice as many feet on my 60-mile training ride than I did on the day of the event.
Oh wow.
So in 60 miles I think it was like 3,600. And then at the end of the 100 miles, I only climbed like 1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a big elevation change during the 60-mile ride.
Yeah. It was brutal. But I kept saying to myself, every time I felt tired or I felt like I couldn't get up a climb or I felt like quitting, I would say, well, what's 100 miles going to do to you? Like, if this is 60, what's 100 going to do? Just saying, like, you have to remember, this is nothing. This is not the challenge. This is not what's going to happen. If this breaks you, then what the hell is your goal going to do?
Yeah.
And I also had a very simple thing that my, because I've said before, I see a therapist off and on, and a very simple thing he told me to say, because I asked him, what do I do? Like when I get to the point where I feel like I'm going to break, like, what do I do? at mile 60, mile 70, mile 95, if I feel like I'm going to quit, what do I do? He's like, just say, I got this. So there were plenty of points on the day where I was like, oh my God, my knee's killing me. Oh, my calf is cramping up.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh, you need to stop. You need to quit. What are you doing? This is crazy. And it's just like, you got this. You got this. You got this. So I think the whole idea is that I didn't only have this as an opportunity to do something really difficult on a bicycle and ride a bicycle. It was more about just my motivation was the internal knowledge that I need to know what I'm made of.
Yeah.
Like I have to know. I no matter what, even if I fail again, if that's the absolute limit, that's fine. But I need to see what it is. Like, where is it?
Yeah.
And for me, it was just, I need to know. Like other people don't know. Other people don't even spend the time to find out what the hell they're made of.
Oh yeah.
But I need to know.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was about. And I mean, dude, like it sucked and it hurt like riding that far. It took me 11 and a half hours, but the stuff was so much simpler out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's just like pedal, right? I mean,
crank. Oh, look, some rain, oh, cool cows. Dude, have I ever told you how much I hate little dogs?
No, why?
The little like yippy ones.
What do little dogs do to you, man? What happened?
They're just annoying. It's like, so like, I think they're called Bichon Frise dogs. They're like little white fluffy dogs.
I have no idea what that is.
It's Bichon, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's coming up as a suggestion. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't like those either. Yeah.
I rode past a Bichon Frise breeder. There were like 30 of them just running around like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in hell. I was like, is this an omen? I should stop.
I actually died and went to hell.
I hate little dogs so much, especially fluffy ones. It was bad.
You brought up something. You brought up something during that I really want to touch on, because I've been wondering for myself if this is a good or bad thing. So when you were talking about just ways to keep motivated and everything, one of the things you listed off was, I've told people this is something I'm going to do. That for me is a big source of motivation. Whenever I've worried that I'm, you know me, like I brought up multiple times that I care too much about how people think and things like that. And that it's like, but that for me has always been like, once I say that I'm going to do something, the onus is now like back on me, that it's like, okay, I'm going to live up for that. I've put that out somewhere to someone that I'm going to accomplish this. And that to me, it gives me a lot of motivation to, I guess giving motivation isn't probably the right term, but it makes me want to be responsible for it and stick to something because I've said it to someone else. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or neither?
I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. I mean, this situation is different, even though, like I said, I'm going to do this thing. And then now I'm telling you, I realize I don't really want to. I don't feel like I've disappointed you in any way or lost your respect, because you know what I want to do next summer.
Yeah.
And, I know you're going to be there to help out with it. So,
yeah.
And I mean, dude, it's, maybe I shouldn't say this on the air, but it's a big deal, by the way, that you told me you're cool with helping out. That it means a lot to me. So.
Oh, yeah, of course, man. Definitely.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll dedicate my award to you. I'm not getting an award. I don't know. Most inspirational asshole award goes to.
I'm gonna buy you a little trophy. I'm gonna go to the trophy shop. I'll have a little trophy to give you. You're getting an award.
Please make the ornament on the trophy like a cheerleader.
That's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah.
Or like a gymnast, a volleyball player, softball. But yeah, it's. I think that I understand because it makes sense, because it gives someone to hold you accountable.
Yes.
And not everybody's going to give that much of a shit about your goal.
Yeah, of course.
When you start telling people you're going to do something, it's like It's like, it's not any different than any other thing. Like, like, hey, can you help me out with this thing, or I need this set up now, and this person needs a computer set up by tomorrow, and I know that you only knew they were starting today, but we need to get this done. And I'm like, I'll get it done today.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to get it done today
Yeah.
because I just told somebody I made a promise. Now, if I'm like, I'll do my best, but I can't guarantee you that I can have something set up by tomorrow morning, maybe
Mhm.
mid-afternoon. But you set a reasonable expectation. But if you tell someone like this will happen today, or I will do it now, then you have to do it right then.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put something out there and, lack integrity and not do it. So, I mean, I understand, because, it's the next thing I'm about to say is obvious, but criticism is worth more than compliments, I think.
Yes.
It's a G-Eazy lyric.
Oh, is it really?
Forgive
Okay.
me. Yeah, forgive me. I've already come out of the closet on the air that I listen to G-Eazy. It's a guilty pleasure. So whatever. Don't hate. So yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, I think that what you get when you tell someone you're going to do something, or tell a group of people that you're going to do something, especially if those people are significant to you,
Mm-hmm.
that now if you don't, you have someone to shake their head.
Yeah.
Someone who might have thought you could, who's now seeing you didn't.
But
And
I wonder if it should be enough that I'm holding myself accountable rather than having to reach outside like that, I guess is what I'm asking. But
I mean, there's a reason why people tell you that if you want to do something, surround yourself with people that want to do the same thing.
True. Yeah.
Because those people will affect you in some fashion. I mean, I do my workouts, like lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
I actually tend to do better when I'm in a legit gym and not like in an apartment gym.
Yes.
Or like if I'm, if I'm at Gold's or even a Planet Fitness, honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
in an actual gym, I just do better. I lift harder and I feel like I'm really getting after it more.
Yep.
Maybe that's all in my head, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's the same thing as not being so prideful as to not ask for help when you need it.
Okay.
Because there's a degree to that gets to where it just becomes foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in that case, yes, because here's the thing though. Even if you tell people that you're going to do something, you're still mostly responsible for that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those people aren't going to be around all the time.
Yeah.
So
and like you brought up, half of them probably don't care.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, most people don't give enough of a shit to look after whatever goals you have. Like, you'll either do them or you won't. Like, even if you're in a relationship with someone, like, they're not going to be checking up on you all the time. Like my girlfriend is doing a 5K.
Oh, nice.
Oh, the cool thing is, since I'm not doing that Century anymore, she's actually doing the 5K on the same day that bike event was.
Okay.
So now I'm going to be at the 5K to support her.
That's cool.
But the thing she said, she was like, oh, I'll be done with my 5K way before you're done with your event. So I'm going to show up with a sign. I was like, do not bring a sign. Because nobody does that.
Yeah, yeah. Be the one person there with the sign.
Yeah, and I was like, you're going to be the one person there with the sign. I'm going to be the one person there that has someone there with the sign. It's going to be really embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it was funny because she said, well, she's like, so are you going to bring a sign? I was like, if you want a sign, you need to run a full marathon. I was like, you're not getting a sign unless it's a full marathon.
Yeah, 5Ks don't earn signs. What you think about?
A marathon, there will be people with signs. That's not embarrassing there. But not even a half marathon, man. It's got to be a full one. And it'll be the best sign ever. I might get kicked out for this sign.
Oh God.
You just wait. I'll be on the news. But yeah, it's like, even with her, I can say, oh, hey, did you run today? How'd it go? How you feeling? And I've even told her, like, I told her the story about overtraining, and I showed her some different interviews with different cyclists and runners who had overtrained, and what happened. And because this is the first, she was a sprinter in school, so she's never done an endurance event in her life.
Okay.
So endurance running is not her thing.
Yeah.
And so even with that, it's like, she's still responsible for it. And I do care about it more than maybe other people do, but it's still her goal. So even the people that are closest to you aren't even going to give enough of a shit to really check up on you all the time. So even if you tell people, that you're going to do something and you feel like that's a good thing for you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you still have to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to hold yourself accountable at, when you get off work on, the days you're not streaming or the podcast isn't happening. You got to hold yourself accountable to go to the gym and do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like every now and then I might be like, hey bro, how was your lift? But
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to happen every day.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
even if it does, like, I mean, I'm not going to make you do it.
Yep. Yeah.
It's just, but I think that there is a lot of value, because now if you've told people that you're going to do this, now you've also given yourself some people that might doubt you.
Yes.
And that's always good, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, there's a guy I work with that I realized later, he acted very skeptical about me being able to finish that 100-mile event. And I haven't asked him explicitly, but after it was over with, I was like, I'm pretty sure he did that on purpose. Like, he actually didn't doubt me. He just thought it would be good if someone said that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the first thing I did when I got back to work is I waltzed right into that guy's office and I showed him the recording of like the GPS on the event. There you go.
Nice.
Like, I told you.
And he was like, I knew you could do it.
Like,
fuck.
Yeah,
you got me.
He was like, oh, cool. And I was like, you bastard.
Yeah.
You lied to me. You believed me this whole time. You knew I would do it. You're just like my dad. I'm kidding. My dad's not like that at all. But yeah, I don't think that it's a bad thing at all.
Okay.
Because it's not like it's taking responsibility away from you. It's just adding another layer of accountability, that if you don't get where you're going to get when you say you're going to get there, now there's people that can be like, I knew it.
Mm-hmm. I always just wonder though, if it's like that same part of me that cares too much about what other people think. Is it that it should be enough just to do it for myself, rather than having to either prove other people wrong, or you know what I'm saying? Like I should be able to just prove to myself that I can do it. It shouldn't matter that I need to prove to other people that I can do it. But there is, I like that at least you don't feel that it's a bad thing to think that way.
Well, it's not like there's nothing wrong with being happy that someone thinks that what you did was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing with proving it to other people too. I mean, because I wanted to prove what I had to prove to myself, but I also wanted to prove it to people around me too.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like, it's not just that, because like I said, I'm volunteering myself to be an inspiration object to people, and that's fine. I mean, I'm completely consenting. I'm an inspiration porn star.
Nice.
I like that.
Yes. I like
that. Might have been a bit arrogant. I won't be so bold as to proclaim that I am a star, but
I do love your content though. I use it quite a bit.
I don't know how I feel about that. Part of me is flattered and the other part's disgusted, but mostly flattered. So yeah, but I also wanted to prove to other people what they're made of too.
Yes.
Like, it's because for me, there's two kinds of people. There's tough people, and there's people that don't know how tough they are yet. Some people die never knowing that, but some people get tested and then they find out how tough they are. I think that whenever shit really, really gets bad, people actually find out how much they're capable of enduring.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's tough. I think that some people just, haven't been tested yet. I mean, like, maybe this is a subject for another time, but I'm pretty sure that humanity is going to destroy most of the vegetation on this planet, and there's going to be tons of like mass extinctions of species.
Probably.
And the world as we know it will be completely different, but humans will probably survive.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter how badly we destroy things, I'm sure we'll find some way to continue.
We are pretty resilient as a species.
Yeah. Until the sun explodes, and then that'll pretty much be that.
Unless, like we talked about in episode 8, we've expanded our galactic empire by that point. But
after episode 8, I've come to the conclusion that shit's never going to happen.
Probably not.
It's all science fiction.
Yeah.
We can expand across the solar system, but not think in the galaxy. Yeah. But yeah, watch episode 8 if you want to hear about that. Hey, we're getting good at this. Did they hear me? Oh crap! I said into the microphone. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's important to have someone hold you accountable.
Okay.
At least for me, because then that adds another human to it. Because now you have the disappointment of another human to deal with in addition to yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that helps people not be so hard on themselves, because now they have someone else to disappoint, not just themselves. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, disappointing yourself sucks, but disappointing someone else and yourself is even worse.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, I can even tell you, like, my significant other who was doing a 5K, when I told her that I realized I didn't want to do the event in November, she was kind of like, and I was like, ah, shit, I never should have fucking told her. But now I've told enough people that I'm doing the 200, or at least going for 200 next summer, that it's like, you're pretty much going to have to now, at least have to try. And I'm not looking forward to that.
But it's also something that you really want,
Inspire me. No, it is. It truly is something that I really want. Something that I really am willing to sacrifice whatever I have to for. And I will. It's not going to be fun.
But like we talked about earlier, though, do you think there's going to be, like, is that the actual end goal? Or after you do that, is it going to be like, well, shit, now I want to do 250? Or you know what I mean?
If I make 200, then I have to do 250.
Because like you said earlier, I mean, the whole point is you want to find where your breaking point is. It's not just reaching a goal. It's learning about yourself, where the actual end is.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's, so if I make 200, I'm going to be really upset.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm actually going to be pissed off, because it's going to be like, shit,
yeah,
I have to do more. Like, can I do this next week? I mean, I won't, after 200 miles, that'll take me almost a day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, can you imagine? It's not your legs, man. It's your butt. It's your butt that hurts after that.
But I can't even imagine.
So
I mean, I did, like, I thought my 30-hour stream was rough, and that's just sitting playing World of Warcraft for 30 hours. I can't imagine actually riding a bike for close to that, an entire day or so. That's pretty monumental.
Yeah, it's not fun. But I mean, I do feel like I want that. I want to at least try for it. And I mean, it'll be refreshing if I can just fall down on the side of the road and not be able to move at some point. That would be like, yes, I made it, and I don't have to go any further to make it. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Get me to a hospital.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like we said, the whole point is you want to learn that about yourself. It's not like there's not a masochistic side of this where you're wanting it to to damage you or anything. It's just like you want to find what you're actually capable of.
Yeah, and the damage is just a side effect, really. Yeah. I mean, I have to accept the fact that this is going to be harmful, and it'll take some time for me to recover. I'll probably need to take several days off of work. But it's like, like I said, on the subject of being inspired versus being motivated, or even the misconception, I would say, of motivation, that having the desire to do it as opposed to knowing the reasons why. That right now I could watch any number of cycling videos. I could watch Peter Sagan highlight reel. I could watch Bernal, shred through the Tour de France this year. I could watch clips of the Vuelta. I could watch shots of, oddly enough, watching crash montages of road cyclists. I'd find that exciting.
Really? Okay.
Like, I'll watch people crashing, like busting their faces on the pavement. I'm like, man, I want to go ride.
Jeez. Okay.
It's weird. And the funny thing is it's funny because I consider myself to primarily be a mountain biker, but I've ended up doing all this road biking stuff just because it's hard. But I could watch any number of those things and like all these motivational videos about riding and hearing people say this thing and that thing and trying to push you and inspire you to ride. And I wouldn't fucking do the event in November.
Yeah.
Because to me, there's no reason for it. It's going to be difficult, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the kind of difficult that I want it to be.
Yeah,
It's not the kind of length that I want it to be. It's just,
I've
it
heard
to
that a
me, it
lot.
doesn't, hey, to me, it doesn't necessarily get to the end goal,
Yeah,
which is where's the limit.
exactly. Yeah,
So, and that's like that's where the whole idea of like inspiration kind of being worthless to some degree is, at least for goals, or getting fired up or excited or having some kind of passion or whatever. It's not really, doesn't have a lot of meaning, because I guarantee you nobody has a passion for scorched lungs and burning legs.
yeah,
Like no one has a passion for it. I mean, some people get exhilarated by it, but it's not a love of anyone's.
yeah. Well, I mean, like we talked about earlier, though, there are the people with the somewhat masochistic tendencies where the pain is kind of a goal. You know, that is a thing, but I think that that's pretty rare. But
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people that actually find the pain itself exhilarating. Everybody else finds the pain something to push through.
mm-hmm.
There's actually, you know what? I'm gonna look up her name. There was a ultra endurance runner, that she effectively went blind during a race.
Oh yeah, uh, Court was it Courtney something?
That sounds familiar. Let's see. Courtney DeWalter, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
But there's a name for the condition. It wasn't black. Her vision was like almost like white, I think she said.
She was the one that destroyed the Moab like 200, right? Where she was like way ahead of the guy in second place. Like she beat him by like 9 hours or something like that, right?
Yep, she won that. It looks like I think she won that in like 2017, I think is what it says here.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. She mangled the dude behind her. 10 hours?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was about to
10
say. Yeah.
hours ahead of that guy?
Yeah.
Did you say 10 hours just then?
I said 9 hours, but I understated it. Yeah. Jesus. I didn't realize it was 10. Yeah. Yeah, I remember she was so worried about taking like any kind of nap, and it's like she could have actually laid down for a full 8 hours sleep and still beat him by 2 hours. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Because the story I heard her tell, I think it was on Joe Rogan actually. The story I heard her tell was that she was just sort of keeping up with her pacer.
Mm-hmm.
So like the pace runner that was with her, and I think I don't know about Moab, but in some races there's like certain points where you're allowed a pacer and certain points where you're not.
Okay.
Or like it's like the last 10 or the first 10 or some shit. I can't remember. But they've got like rules. I'm sitting up here wanting to ride a bicycle 200 miles, and this woman ran through the fucking desert.
Yeah.
For over a day.
Yeah.
Actually over. That's insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. Those things. I mean, like I know that it's just, it's steps to get there. I know that if you train hard enough and if you do things right, like pretty much any human body can get there. But I just can't picture myself. I can't picture that ever being possible. That is just like it's insane to me. Yeah.
And the thing about ultra endurance running is it's not good for you.
Oh no, yeah, not at all.
Like you might have to have a certain degree of physical conditioning to do it, but it's really beating the ever living shit out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
But she just knows like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing this. Like I'm gonna get to the finish line. I'm gonna beat everybody as bad as I possibly fucking can. Like I'm not gonna stop. I'm just gonna keep going. Like I'm not gonna lay down for a nap. I don't care what happens. Like I'm just gonna do this. And in some ways, this is maybe objectively irrational behavior. But I get it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I'm into.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I get that it's nuts. But yeah, it's just that she understood. Like she truly, truly wanted this, or else she wouldn't have sacrificed that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, she's the type of person that, I don't know exactly how she said she was keeping up with her pacer when she was blind, but she just stayed with them and sort of like allowed them to guide her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if she even told them she couldn't fucking see. I feel like it would have become pretty obvious at a certain point. Like, hey, wait, you can't see, can you?
Yeah, you're veering off the path.
That was a tree you just hit. There was a tree. Like you can't even feel your face right now. it's yeah. So, but stuff like that, it's like, I mean, she'll do whatever she has to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that just from being inspired by somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a
Maybe there
motivation
was,
that's deep down within.
yeah, maybe there's something that inspired her to start.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I can tell you that with cycling, I discovered that much later. And dude, I made fun of road cyclists just like everybody else. I did. I mean, I get it, man. We wear tight outfits and we're super skinny. And usually wearing really bright colored socks or ridiculous helmets. Doing yoga and eating kale. It's yeah. But I saw, and I still can't find the freaking movie. There was a little mini documentary about, I think it was in Los Angeles,
Okay.
people riding fixed gear bicycles, which I don't ride a fixie.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a really cool movie and it inspired me to start.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something else that keeps me going and that makes me want to do the difficult stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's possible that Courtney Dauwalter was, inspired to start, but she has some idea of, like, where she wants to get and why.
Yeah.
Chiefly why she wants to get there. And I mean, that's pretty rad right there, because I have said, generally speaking, I have often said that I firmly believe that generally the majority of women are much tougher than men are. Some of us might be stronger, but I truly, truly believe that women are genetically predisposed to be much tougher than we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she's done a great job of proving that. All it takes is for someone to push hard enough and want to.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's a degree of toughness that's unmatched for males. I truly believe that. Yeah, and say what you want to about it.
No, I definitely agree with that. There's another thing you brought up too that really makes a lot of sense too, and it's the remembering the reasons why you started, not letting the set downs and setbacks and things get you down and take away your motivation. If you enjoy it, if there's a reason why you started, being able to focus on that and maintain that is very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, and to use the sort of romantic relationship analogy, the best way to continue to treat your spouse or partner well is to remember how you felt about them when you met them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, almost everything humans do is pretty similar to everything else that we do.
Yeah.
So have you seen those? They're like the motivational quotes, but it's about drinking instead.
No.
It's a guy with a beer bottle in his hand, like leaning on a counter. He's leaning on a counter with a beer bottle in his hand. He looks hungover as hell, and it says, "If you ever quit, remember why you started."
That's actually that's pretty
it's
funny.
Awful, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
Or like it's a girl like in a bar, like doing a shot. It says, "No matter what they say, you have to keep pushing."
Yeah.
Or like,
that's actually
really
great.
funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's like it takes those demotivational poster things they used to have and cranks them up to 11, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
yeah. That's been. I mean,
do you have any experience with that? The remembering why you started mentality?
Yes. Yeah. That's. I mean, the biggest. Like, of course. I mean, I've been getting incredibly frustrated with streaming, and it's like not seeing the growth that I want, or my chat being dead at like tonight. We've been doing our podcast for an hour and 20 minutes and literally no one has said a single thing. Things like that are tough for me. It's like I want to have a certain amount of engagement that I'm not getting, and that gets frustrating and it gets hard to stay motivated with it. But at the same time, it's like I need to remember why I started doing this. It's about having fun, and I enjoy it. That shouldn't matter as much to me. It should be. It's about the fun that I'm having inside, not anything external like that.
My cat is fighting my dinner table right now.
Who's winning?
Cat 2-0.
Nice. That's what's up.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely derail this discussion.
No, you're fine.
I don't know why he's
fighting outside of his weight class too. I mean, the dinner table.
Yeah, like way outside of it. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's fir or birch or I don't. What do they make tables out of? It's oak.
I know the cat's made out of fur.
Slap your knees, everyone. Slap your knees.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just interesting to compare notes on stuff that I think a lot of people do start stuff because they just like it.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe in between challenges, it's valuable to go back to that for a little while.
Yes.
To challenge yourself to do something, but then remember that you do it because it's something that you like or you love or you enjoy.
Mhm.
And you can take that and you can turn that thing up. Like you can take the intensity up to double or triple the fun side of it. But it's always important to remember to have the fun too in between.
Yeah.
And do it because you enjoy it. And maybe challenge yourself in the thing that you enjoy, but always remembering that. I think that's a really important thing. That that the motivation to continue is important, but there also needs to be some kind of temperance, some kind of balance involved in whatever thing it is that we decide to do.
That is such like a central idea. Like I wish I could go back and check every episode when we've had an actual serious conversation, which most of them. It always comes. There's an element of balance to everything. Like I think that is just a core aspect of being a human, is needing to find that balance between what you're doing, and yeah, it seems to be a common theme.
Yeah, agreed. You know, it was because I realized that when work was insane, I was like, this is a point in my life where I have to focus on my job. Like there is no work-life balance right now, and this will end. We'll get through this, but right now there is no work-life balance. It's all work.
Yeah.
And when you get home, you are dead. You know, drink a couple beers, chill out, you know, play some video games, whatever. But just there's no way in hell I could have trained for any kind of event during all that. And so sometimes it's kind of like how my mom described compromise in a relationship. It's not always going 50. It's not going 50. Sorry, shit, I totally fucked this up. It's not going 50%, 100% of the time.
Okay.
It's also going 100%, 50% of the time.
Okay. Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, you know, it can be completely your partner's way half the time, and vice versa, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So there's certain situations where you can go 100 in one thing, and then dial back later. You know, so I mean, I can just hit it real hard for a little while, and then kind of dial things back to the fun part. Or you know, just I don't know, go crazy at work for like a week and then do nothing at home for a week.
Yeah.
And that's fine as long as it's for a certain period of time. And
exactly.
I think the same thing about grief. Like whenever something bad happens, it's important to retreat into your cave for a little while. Yeah. But you need to decide, okay, I'm going to give myself as much time as is required to a point.
Yeah.
But if I don't decide to come out of my cave, so to speak, in 2 weeks, I'm just going to step right out. And whatever's there will be waiting. You know, my friends, my hobbies, my joys, my, you know, whatever it is that, you know, you're missing when you're in your metaphorical cave. That I think it's okay to go 100 in one direction as long as you dial it back for a period of time too.
Well, I definitely, I realized that with like
that's part of balance.
I realized that with like my World of Warcraft this past week, where it's like, you know, I took a week off specifically to do this. Of course, doing that long term is incredibly unhealthy, incredibly unbalanced. But I don't think there's actually anything wrong with you know, going that hard 1 week. Like, yeah, it's a little unhealthy, but it's not like I don't know. It's sometimes the imbalance can end up being balanced, right? If it's for a short period of time like that, and you know that it's a one-time thing, kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, you know, you chuck 100 pounds on one side of the scale and then you take it off.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like everyone has a vacation, you know. It's like when people go on vacation and drink heavily every night and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you know, as long as you're not doing that your entire life, I don't think that it's too detrimental, I guess. But
yeah, let's never move to Las Vegas.
Yeah. What is I mean, I forget whose quote it was, but it's like everything in moderation, including moderation. Like sometimes you do have to like let yourself go overboard on something to actually stay in balance, right? Like, I don't know. I like that.
No, I agree. It's like, I think that's, I mean, some people might call that like a binge and purge mentality, but I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that works too. I mean, sometimes you just gotta go a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every now and then it's good to get a little wasted to be like, that's why I don't drink like that anymore.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
sucks that had to happen last night, but that's not happening again, bro. Solid 3 years.
It's like, I mean, I think,
And it's like,
like you knew me, like, about, I guess, like about a year ago, and how I was way too disciplined with a lot of things. And it's like that in itself can be unhealthy. It's like you were even someone that was like trying to, like, it's not like, not a bad influence, but like trying to help me realize, like, hold on, you don't need to take everything to 100% seriousness like this. It's okay to, like, every once in a while cut loose a little bit. There is a balance to that.
yeah.
But
Yeah. And, but also, I mean, I also think that there's nothing wrong with being ultra disciplined for a while. There's some times where I actually feel like I just need to go dark
mm-hmm.
and disappear for a little while on everyone and just do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, all of a sudden my life for like a month is just wake up at this time, go to bed at this time, eat this, eat that, lift weights, ride the bike. This is your routine. This is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't let anyone else get in the way, and you keep away from certain distractions. It's almost like exercising my discipline muscle really hard for a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes there's some kind of value in sort of the solitude of it. And getting sort of back into a process or an extreme routine
mm-hmm.
for just a little while. And I think there's something good. So, like, look, I mean, I think you learned a lot of things from that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stuff you learned about, like, what you're capable of doing and what you're made of, so to speak. So I think that was an important time in your life, and it's good that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you maintain that routine? Like 2 years?
It was, yeah, probably something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you learned some important lessons during that about yourself and about other people, probably even.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's good that you learned to kind of cut loose a little bit. Like, dude, I had a beer the night before that event.
That's surprising.
I was like sitting there, like, I was like, man, like, I am going way too crazy about this. I need to relax, calm down, chill. So I'm like, I'm going to get the biggest goddamn plate of pasta I can fucking find.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a beer. And it was actually a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually some advice I have for anybody that's doing any event like that for the first time, is just relax, calm
Mm-hmm.
down.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to mess yourself up if you sit there up all night worrying about what's going to happen. Just chill out,
Yeah.
wait for the time to happen. But I definitely think there's value in life then. But I think there's also value in balance.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, so I mean, what are your closing thoughts on motivation, inspiration, and all of this? Do you have anything else that you need to add, or not need to? Sorry, that you want to add?
I mean, I guess just in summary, on the whole subject of the business is, if you're going to do something, always remember the reasons why, because that's the true motivation. And always examine yourself carefully to know you truly want to do something. And if you really want to do it, then do it. And if not, that's okay. I also don't want anybody to think that, inspiration's a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's good to feel that sometimes, but it's not a thing to get you toward an end goal or an end result. So, be inspired sometimes, but stay motivated.
Yeah, I feel really a lot of the same ways. I feel like it is too easy to lose that motivation when things go wrong, when things aren't necessarily going your way, when something unplanned happens. And just remember why you set out to do something in the first place. Keep that in mind, and focus on where you want to be and what you want to do. And just like you said, if you want something, do what you have to do to get there. Don't let something else step in your way if you have the power to get there. Yeah. Well, so we've reached the end of another episode of the Metacast podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the conversation, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below on your experiences with motivation or the lack thereof. I'd like to hear, a time that you've been struggling with sticking motivated with something. If you're interested in actually like taking further part of the conversation or even being a guest, you can join our Discord below. It's in the link. It's in the link below. Sorry. The link is in the description below. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. It's going to be live Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylaTV. And thank you all for listening. See you next week.